Hey. How you doing? Nice to see you. Nice to see you. I know you. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Well, thank you, everyone, and it's terrific to be here today. We have some really big news. At the beginning of my administration, I pledged to work hand in hand with President Donald Trump and his administration to enforce our nation's immigration laws. As many of you know, when I served as Attorney General, I repeatedly focused on the fact that West Virginia was a border state when it came to the immigration problem because we saw so much illicit fentanyl and drugs flood into our state. This was killing our people. And I knew as Attorney General, and I used to press to do more here, and thankfully now we have President Donald Trump in office. We're working in a partnership, but we didn't do enough to push back at that. We are doing a lot right now, and I think it's incredible. And so I'm glad to be here today because we know that there's been a change in administration. During the Biden administrations, millions of people unlawfully entered the country. We know that there's a lot of really nasty things that are going on from the Mexican drug cartels, and we're seeing the effects of that, not only on drug trafficking, but money laundering, and a lot of property crime, a lot of issues that can stem back to illicit immigration. We're doing something about it, and we have some big news to break today. So when this started to happen, we knew that this was a big assault on the sovereignty of West Virginia and the rule of law. And also was an insult to those who immigrated here the right way. West Virginia was flooded almost unlike any other state with massive amounts of fentanyl and illicit drugs. It poisoned our state, and it really ended up catching a lot of the people that were previously addicted to the legal pain pills. This was a fight that I engaged in for 12 years when we had the civil actions that were very successful, more successful arguably than any state in the nation when it comes to holding the companies accountable. The natural next step after a lot of people on the lawful pills was to go to fentanyl. That's a huge problem. And now, during my administration, we're still busy cleaning up a lot of the mess. Fortunately, we have a good partner with the Trump administration. I come here today with a number of folks in law enforcement to make it really clear, West Virginia, we are always going to be a law and order state. We're committing ourselves to the rule of law, to stopping illegal immigration and mitigating all the consequences that it has on citizens, especially when it comes to the illicit drug trade. Earlier this year, I signed an executive order directing the West Virginia Department of Homeland Security, the state police, and the West Virginia Division of Corrections to fully cooperate with ICE and other federal law enforcement agencies so they can help implement President Trump's executive order. And I've spoken to the president about this, and I know that the president, Secretary Noem, I've talked to a number of times about this, they're doing the right things, and I applaud their willingness to make this a top priority. One of the main functions of government is to make sure we're protecting the safety of our people. President Trump wants to make America safe again. I want to make sure that West Virginia remains one of the most safe places in the country. We have to keep focusing on it. Early on, I sent a letter to local law enforcement urging them to work closely with ICE and provide support in any way possible. We're going to take any legal action necessary to protect the residents of our state from illegal aliens and the drug trade. So a little less than 2 months ago, I announced that the West Virginia State Police, the National Guard, Division of Corrections, they had entered into a 287G agreement, and I thought that represented an incredible step for the state. Today, I'm here to provide an update on that program, and I'm joined by a lot of people here today, and the major impact that that program has already had on our state. Let's start with some new information. The West Virginia State Police, they've now
arrested 37 illegal immigrants in our state from the first day they were working directly with ICE. 37 illegal immigrants. And that just started September 21st, 2025. Now think about that for a moment. 37 arrests in 11 days. That's an unbelievable and astonishing number given the size of our state. 27 of these individuals were apprehended by the state police, their Parkways team, during traffic stops, legal traffic stops on the West Virginia Turnpike. The remaining 10 were apprehended at DUI checkpoints operated by the state police. I'm fortunate to be joined today by our outstanding Superintendent of State Police, Colonel Jim Mitchell, and other members of the state police who've been instrumental in these efforts. I want to thank everyone from the state police, and from the bottom of my heart, thank you for standing strong for the safety of our citizens. West Virginians appreciate you. I know early on, when I picked the colonel, I knew that he was dedicated to going after this fentanyl and the illicit drug trade. That was a big priority for me, and Colonel, you're doing a great job. Thank you. We also know that while we can't have the folks from ICE here today, there are things going on limiting that from happening, I do want to applaud them for their work, because they're doing a lot to keep West Virginians safe. So I want to especially thank Secretary Noem and President Trump for the emphasis they've put in on keeping West Virginia, America safe. We're proud to work alongside of ICE and support the Trump administrations to keep our citizens safe. Now, once we arrest individuals, they're transferred to our regional jails. And we know that our Division of Corrections plays an important role in this process. They're part of the 287G program, and they're helping speed up the deportations that are occurring by ICE. Since the beginning of this year, over 1,000 ICE immigration detainees have been booked through our correction system. Over 1,000, that's a lot, once again, for a small state. Remember, everyone said that immigration problem didn't affect West Virginia? They weren't being honest with you. It does have a real impact here, which is why we focused on it. And just since August 12th alone, we have 355 ICE immigration detainees that have passed through West Virginia DCR facilities. Once again, these are staggering numbers, especially for a small state. Look, it also is a great example of how bad things had gone under Joe Biden and how seriously Trump is taking this. We know that Commissioner David Kelly of Corrections is here today. David's doing a terrific job. I want to thank you, David, for all the work that you're doing and the work of your staff. It takes a team, and I'm always proud to emphasize that. You win as a team in West Virginia, and you're doing some good work. So thank you. I really appreciate it. Also want to take the opportunity, he's not up here, but he should, to introduce the Marco Rubio of the Morrissey administration. We've got Doug Buffington, who's the acting head of Homeland Security. For those who don't get the reference of the Marco Rubio, Doug's doing a lot of different jobs. And right now, in addition to the work he's doing in the governor's office, he's the acting head of Homeland Security. Doug, I want to thank you for all the work in your leadership. You've made a big difference. So I appreciate it, Doug. And we have a lot of other people here today. We have our prosecutor, Brian Cochran, and a number of people very involved in law enforcement. And some of the folks are going to have a chance to speak today. But it's a team approach, and we're so glad that we have a group of people that are dedicated to doing everything imaginable to take illegal immigration seriously. Now, we also have another big announcement today. And this is important. Thanks to the incredible work of our state police and law enforcement in Mercer County. I'm going to turn around for folks to see. Recently, the state police and law enforcement in Mercer County executed one of the single largest drug busts in state history, and it seized enough fentanyl to kill more than 12 million people. So think about that for a moment. That's about 7 times the population of West Virginia. This is pretty serious stuff. But we have a group of people that are fighting those drug dealers who are doing everything they can to make sure they're keeping West Virginians safe. 54 pounds of suspected fentanyl. That could kill a lot of people. You guys know that this has been a problem for first responders. Sometimes they touch the illicit fentanyl. It can kill you just sometimes with a touch. It's very dangerous. Imagine what happens when it gets laced into some of the vaping and to some of the other products. That was a cause of a lot of deaths in West Virginia. So we're taking on fentanyl, and this drug bust, it's a big deal. It has a value on the street of over $825,000. But that's not all. The officers, a number of who are with us today, they seized and removed from the streets of West Virginia 70 pounds of suspected crystal meth, 23 pounds of suspected illicit marijuana, 15 firearms, and 3 brick presses. You see some of that today. These drugs were taken off the streets after month-long investigation as part of multiple search warrants, which were executed on September 10th, 2025. I want to emphasize that the Mercer County Sheriff's Office and Prosecutor's Office, the Southern Regional Drug and Violent Crime Drug Task Force, they all did good work. And once again, it's not just about the state and the governor. We have a huge team of people collaborating together to protect the citizens of our state. The suspects in this case are charged with delivery of methamphetamine, delivery of fentanyl, and conspiracy to deliver fentanyl. This one gentleman's currently on federal probation for drug charges. As you can see, these bricks of fentanyl have inscriptions that can act as a signature for certain types of gangs and dealers. And the Mexican drug cartels are a real problem. They're a problem nationally, and we're worried about the impact that they have in West Virginia. We know that some of these inscriptions have been seen in other cases across the country, which means that this could be part of a broader drug operation and efforts by the bad guys. But thanks to the officers in this room, West Virginia, we're going to keep the drugs off our streets. We're going to protect people as much as we humanly can. This is a higher priority for this administration than the state's ever seen. We must keep our people safe. We need to prevent drugs from being accidentally ingested by kids. And we know that we have to protect our officers from coming into contact with fentanyl. But I also am here today to send a clear message. If we haven't gotten to you yet, if you're a drug dealer and you're operating or trying to operate in West Virginia, we are coming for you, and we're not going to stop. There's a level of aggressiveness to protect our citizens that you haven't seen before. We're going to do it in a lawful manner. We're going to protect your civil rights, operate under the Constitution, but we're going to be very clear. You are not welcome here, and we're going to come and be aggressive, and we're going to keep partnering with Trump and Noam and others to make sure that the right things happen in West Virginia. If you bring drugs into our state, you will be held accountable, you will be tried, and if you're convicted, you will do serious time in prison. We're not fooling around here. We're not going to let our kids get killed the way that they were in the past. So we're grateful to be here today, and we have a few people who are going to be speaking. I'd like to start by turning it over to someone who I think really has been excelling in his job and really advancing the culture of state police in such a positive way. Want to recognize Colonel Jim Mitchell to come say a few words.
Well, good morning to each of you. It's a pleasure to be here today, and I want to thank Governor Morrissey for just a moment for the opportunity to lead this agency, the West Virginia State Police. And I want to thank him personally for his continued support to the West Virginia State Police and also to the citizens of the state. I know that his commitment to this state is genuine. It's from his heart. He's shared that in communication with me on a personal level as well as a professional level. And for that, it's an honor to work for you, sir, and thank you. So when I was appointed as superintendent, it was with the expectation that the West Virginia State Police would be led with professionalism, integrity, and transparency. And today, I think, is an example of that commitment in action. Every day, our troopers, and I'm proud of every single one of them. They work so hard, and many that are responsible for what you see in front of you are not here today. And it's not just our troopers, but it's the deputies, it's the city police officers that work on task forces with us, that labor alongside of us. We couldn't do it without them either. But so many of them are not able to be here because of the nature of their work. But we appreciate them so very much. But today, this is an example of what we're doing. Every day, our officers in this state are demonstrating pride and dedication and duty to their communities. Sometimes it often goes unnoticed, but I appreciate their commitment. I want to commend Captain Stevenson standing behind me with the West Virginia State Police and Captain Brewer for their leadership. Captain Stevenson directs the ICE task force for the West Virginia State Police, and Captain Brewer leads our Bureau of Criminal Investigation. I also want to appreciate our prosecutor, Brian Cochran from Mercer County, for what he has done and works with law enforcement on a daily basis, combating against fentanyl. And also Vic Brown. Vic Brown is the director of HIDA, and he provides a lot of resources that we need in this state to do this kind of successful work. So in recent weeks, through collaboration with ICE, you know now what the results have been in such a short period of time. If it wasn't for the governor pushing and giving us this opportunity, we wouldn't have been able to detain these illegal immigrants. And so it's a wonderful thing to be able to do to help West Virginia. So equally important as to ICE and to our task force is also our drug operations and investigations, and working alongside these other agencies. And so we have carried out this major investigation against fentanyl. I'll tell you something else about your governor that you may not know. And when he appointed me as superintendent, he expressed to me his disdain for fentanyl and for the destruction that it is doing on people in this state, and asked me if we could make sure as a state agency that we're doing that. It's not so much me, I may be at the helm of it all, but it's those leaders under me and those troopers under me that are doing the work, and the other officers. So I appreciate them, and I appreciate the governor's commitment to this. So, and Governor, we can consider this as a down payment toward these actions that's going forward. And I want to echo the governor's words. If you are here in West Virginia illegally, you're not welcomed here. And we value the dignity of every human being, but we want you here legally. And if you're here in West Virginia and you're illegal, you're not welcomed here. If you're in West Virginia with the intention of violating law and spreading the drug usage and selling drugs, you are not welcomed here. We don't want you to unpack your bags, and we don't want you to feel comfortable. And so we're going to be after you, we're going to look for you, and we're going to arrest you. And so, Governor, I just want to say thank you again for your leadership and support, and the West Virginia State Police will continue to work tirelessly to keep our citizens safe. So thank you, Chip.
Thank you. Yes, appreciate it very much, Colonel. I'm really grateful for Colonel Mitchell and his leadership and the work of the entire state police and all law enforcement in the state police and corrections. We have such a good group of people, and I think this program is already reaping dividends for the safety of West Virginians. Now, I'd also like to introduce the Mercer County prosecutor, a friend of mine who's also doing a wonderful job protecting the people in his county, Brian Cochran.
When I walked in here today, I seen one thing that was really impressive: law and order. And that's what we appreciate about Governor Morrissey. This case, I'll be prosecuting this case hopefully within the next 6 months to a year. So I can't really talk about the facts of the case, but I can talk about the officers who were involved. Our task force, led by the state police and Colonel Mitchell and his group of men, include the Mercer County Sheriff's Department. Alan Christian is the sheriff of Mercer County. It includes the Bluefield Police Department in Mercer County, the Wyoming County Sheriff's Department, and the McDowell County Sheriff's Department. And these guys work together with my office and are in constant communication with my office. And I just really appreciate their hard work and the danger that they are involved in every single day. Again, I really appreciate Governor Morsi. He has been a huge supporter of the state police, of law enforcement in general, and the rule of law. And we just really appreciate his support as well. Finally, you know, Mercer County is made up of 60,000 people. And the great majority of Mercer County people are good, honest, hardworking people. So I don't want this to reflect too negatively on the people of Mercer County, because there's just a very, very small percentage of people in Mercer County that are committing these crimes. And those are the people that we're after. So thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Brian. And I know we have some of the pictures here today. We're happy to answer any questions from the media. I just want to note that there's some limitations. From my previous job as Attorney General, you always have to know that everyone is entitled to due process. And so we're not going to comment in a manner that would implicate the case. But if there are other broader questions from the media, we'd be happy to answer them right now. Anyone?
Governor, how quickly do you expect there to be more arrests of illegal immigrants, and how many do you expect?
It's always hard to predict the future, but you saw the numbers in such a short period of time. So that tells me that there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And so having 37 in that short period of time in terms of the partnership with ICE, that's a lot. Obviously, this bust we've been working on that for a number of months. So I think there's going to be more news coming in the upcoming weeks and months ahead, but I don't want to get out in front of something. You tend to act on these things, especially when it comes to the bust. You act when you actually have everything buttoned up, right? You don't want to rush these things, so I commend that. I'm never going to compromise the safety of our officers and our people by getting out in front. You have to do this the right way. And I think the way we're doing the stops too, you have to do it in a lawful way, and we are. So I do expect more will be coming, but we're going to take it as it comes, and we're going to report it to you as we learn more.
Anna was done.
Yeah, hey, Anna.
Do you foresee any impacts from the government shutdown on this operation? It's my understanding it doesn't affect enforcement as much, but maybe the administrative side, getting people deported, those sorts of things.
Well, I don't really see it. I mean, obviously, there may be some activities that slow down in some parts of Homeland Security and ICE, but with respect to our enforcement, that's not changing at all. And that's one of the benefits of having the agreement. West Virginia is going to keep doing everything it can. This is not a furlough for criminals. We're going to make sure that we're enforcing the law, and that partnership remains in effect. Hello, how are you? Good. Yeah.
Did any of these 37 new arrested have any prior criminal charges that you're aware of? And how are you deciding where to do these maybe not DUI checkpoints, but the traffic stops where you are?
I'm probably not going to talk about the whole decisions as to how and why we try to catch people, for obvious reasons. But I will note, to answer your question, that a number of these were actually done pursuant to a lawful stop. It might be that there was a defect in the car, or they may have been otherwise, their probable cause that they're violating some other law. Maybe they're speeding or doing something else. So that's a lot of them. And so that's the big part of that 37 number that you see. The other part of your question, I think I don't know that off the top of my head. I don't have that information here. I don't know if anyone else does.
I don't know how many of them, but yes, some did have prior criminal histories.
Yeah, and look, I mean, there are a number of people that I looked at the list, that came in from Mexico. So there are other people clearly with criminal records, and you see that. I just don't have the stats off the top of my head. But as we learn that, we're happy to provide that for you. My philosophy has always been that if I can't answer a question now, you're going to get the information. Just may not get it in real time if we don't have it, but appreciate it. Sir.
Yes, sir. I'm a little confused. confused here. Was anybody involved in this, was any of the suspects involved in this arrest here, charged with any kind of immigration violations or anything like that?
No, I don't think they were charged. These are two separate items, but we wanted to bring law enforcement together. And both announcements are pretty significant, obviously, but we thought it would be important to highlight the working relationship that we've had with law enforcement.
Thanks.
Yeah. Any other questions from the media? Anna?
Is there an average time span the detainees are in our jails? Do you have any kind of information for that?
You know, I know that ICE tries to move forward and process this. So when I was briefed on that earlier this year, sometimes people are in and out in a week. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. I don't know if anyone's here who'd be able to answer those questions. Anyone?
They move up to 12 a week out of our regional jail system.
Okay. Sounds good. Any other questions that people may have? WSAZ.
Yes, sir. What does this say about the safety of West Virginians? Should people be concerned at all about their safety?
People should know that their governor, their administration, their state police, working collaboratively with the Trump administration, we're not going to tolerate these drug dealers. And we're going to crack down, and we're going to protect the safety of our citizens. We're not going to let this go on the way that it was going on in recent years. You just didn't hear about it as much, in part because the Biden administration was trying to pretend that these problems weren't linked to the border. I think a lot of the issues we're seeing, the illicit drug trade, does stem from border-related problems, and we're going to keep emphasizing that. But we're going to do everything imaginable to protect the citizens of West Virginia from crime and from drug dealers as well. Any other questions? I want to tease something just for a moment. In a few hours, we may have some other separate announcements, but this warrants focus on how we're protecting West Virginia citizens, but be on the lookout for some things that'll be interesting for certain parts of our state within a few hours. Thank you, and God bless.